here you see a bit the global database landscape we currently use. I thought about taking this slide out, to be honest, because the world still looks very empty, and there are much more gaps. But let's be honest. I mean, if we talk about pharma, of course, there's a strong focus on some Asian countries, North America, partly South America, and Europe. And the gaps you see, these are the big countries, unfortunately, that for now are not really known as hotspots for healthcare. Maybe China, India as an exemption, but they are so far at least no nationwide data sets are available that can be generally be promoted. So what we cover with our data sets, and you see here the claims and the registry EMR data sets, and also countries with both, they typically cover the typical interest and preference pharma companies have in terms of data coverage. So we as GIPAM indeed would if you ask a question, which data to use in the countries you see, we would then have the different options, and you see in some only claims, in some only EMRs or registries, even if in the Nordics, for example, the national registries are claims-like, I would say, but there we have data sets which can be used. Next slide. Let's now talk a bit more about the database selection. And what I wanted to show here is just a top line basic primer. I cannot tell you now for your specific research interest, use this or this. But we have certainly research questions where we would strongly recommend claims data. Then there might be research questions where EMR data are most probably the right data source. But there might also be study ideas where we would recommend a medical chart review. And I will talk about MCRs a bit more in detail a bit later. And then in some cases, we might even say, no, do a prospective study because the other data sources are not the right one. What are the characteristics that drive this recommendation and decision? First, patient characteristics. If you see, or if you can identify your patients via ICD-10 codes or disease codes and treatment proxies, that speaks for claims. If you need clinical characteristics, at least that are recorded in regular care, that speaks for MCRs or EMR data sources. And if the variables typically are not recorded in the regular care, that speaks for a prospective study. So that's the first. The second is outcomes. And I don't read them now all, but outcomes like mortality, morbidity, healthcare resource use, cost, perfect match with claims. If it's more clinical outcomes, laboratory tests, molecular tests, other things, EMR or MCR data, if it's prospective outcomes or patient-reported outcomes, we are still looking for databases that cover patient-reported outcomes perfectly. There exist some registries that do it, but it's very rare. It's very rare. So in that sense, if pros are your primary outcome, then that speaks indeed for a prospective design. The third criterion is countries, regions. Again, data availability is also a point. This reflects more our database landscaping. I need to say that we don't have full transparency about all global databases that exist in the world, specifically not regarding disease-specific registries. So this refers more to the national databases. But indeed, if you want to do a study in the US, Germany, Italy, France, Japan, or Canada, that speaks from our perspective for claims. In case of US, also for EMRs, because we have both. UK, Nordics, Spain, very much in the direction of EMR data sets, and other countries where not such databases exist might speak for our medical chart review or prospective data. And even in countries where we have data sources, again, we need to discuss how much time do you have. In some countries, we might need 12 months to get data access. And if that is too long, we might recommend a medical chart review. And then finally, of course, also data requirements in terms of what do you want count. If you are happy with anonymized or pseudonymized data with a respective data linkage, that speaks for existing EMRs and claims. If you need access to source documents, original lab reports, whatever, well then we should go into the direction of a medical chart review or a prospective study. So you see, there are different criteria. At the end, it's the mixture of criteria that are derived from your study objectives that decide which data source to use.